After 4 months of ownership of a fully electric car, it is now time to put in practice all that we've learned in our end of term exam. Next week, we're going to Brittany on the Emerald Coast. It is going to be a great trip. We will be crossing the channel and driving 600 kilometers in a day. We need to plan for it though. That's what we do in this video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go on a better route planner and type in the start point, end point, and get it to look for the journey. Right, so it's making a few selections already, but we need to double check that we've got the right vehicle. That's fine, it's the Hyundai Electric. It uses a reference consumption, which in my view is a little on the high side compared to what we normally consume, but let's stick to that. We will start at 100%. We don't really have preferences on the network, although I'll come back to the fact that we are going to be riding the Ionity wave. And then the battery, I can go to 7% lowest state of charge. Definitely not less than that. On the speed, we're going to say 120 kilometers per hour is probably a good max. Of course, in France you can go at 130, but it's kind of a good compromise in terms of efficiency. The vehicle is at 20 degrees, and the road conditions 10 degrees Celsius. That's more or less the weather we're expecting. Now, I'm not putting any wind, although I've checked the weather and there's probably going to be a bit, but again, I think ABRP is a little bit conservative mostly. We are going to pay attention to that and not put even more in there, right? So let's just take a look at what it's telling us. So it will be doing the crossing and then recharging on an Ionity station in Coquel, which is fine. Of course, ideally we would be charging just before taking the Eurotunnel. So we'll see about that. And that might avoid having to do it coming out of the tunnel. Then we've got the Better Sum. That's going to be a nice little break there. It's now telling me that I should be pausing here on a Lidl in France. Now I'm aware there are only 2 stations, 2 connectors there, and then you've got another 2 Ionity. So simple enough really. Now we need to do something here, which is to change the arrival time. So let's change that. Arrival time. We'll be arriving about 9:30 over here. So let's redo the calculations. And here we have it. For some reason, at a different time in the day, it's deciding to go here. Now, I did check this one separately. First of all, it takes me through the city center. Well, I'm not sure about that. Don't really want to be doing that. So that doesn't sound like a great choice for me. I'd rather just go over this particular path. Okay, so that sounds like more or less what we are going to be doing here. And I'm pretty much done, right? I could stop here. That's the alternative. This one is quite interesting because now that I've decided I'm happy to not go above 110 kilometers an hour, I've got an option to make 1 fewer stops. And that's a 30-minute stop here, charging all the way to 96. So that's quite a lot. But the nice thing about this one is that would be just riding on Ionity station, so all of them will have at least 4 chargers. So speaking of Ionity, we had a little test just to make sure that we would be ready. It's charging okay. In fact, one of the connectors wasn't quite working on that day. Charge my Hyundai card would get it started, or the app for that matter, so all good there. Now, noting that we were going to be driving so much using Ionity, and even just for this trip, the very simple break-even shows that it is probably worthwhile taking the subscription for the full year, for the full 12 months at 11.50 a month. Because instead of paying about 71 euros just going there, it will take us more like 120 odd euros again, and the same would be the case on the way back. So you're kind of almost paying for about 6 months of the subscription. Now, just to be clear, in my case, it's only interesting for France, where Ionity is quite big. In the UK, in my area, it's pretty poor. And in fact, the one time I've tried to use it in Birmingham, they were all fully busy. Final step of the preparation, I also marked a couple of backup stations, especially on the longer stretch of 136 kilometers. And then finally, it would be good to know whether we're going to be meeting our objectives. So I looked at some of the previous trips done on a petrol car or diesel car, and the time it took us to do those longer trips, the kind of full day trips. And you can see that we're anywhere between 75 kilometers, 73 even, if we're going to do a sit-down lunch, just to get some rest at lunchtime, all the way to kind of in the 90 plus kilometers an hour, but nothing, you know, we're so far away from the 120, 130 kilometers an hour that would be allowed on the motorway. This is just not the average that we anyway would be achieving on those trips. So I think a good outcome here would be to be somewhere around the 75 kilometers an hour mark. That would be a pretty good outcome. Alright, you might think that all of that is a little bit overboard. We'll get to see that very soon, so please stay tuned. In the meantime, share your comments. How do you go about planning your longer trips? You know, are you being held back from using an electric car or buying one because you are worried about those longer trips? Let me know all of that in the comments below. Many thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.